Hey, we welcome you back to Newsmax Now. Right now, we want to welcome in Congressman Rodney Davis, who represents the 13th district of Illinois. And we're going to talk to him in a minute about the 21st Century Cures Act passed by overwhelming bipartisan support. And if it does become law, it will be a big deal for the future of medical treatment. Of course, we also have to talk about this new Iran nuclear deal. Congressman, it is great to have you with us, sir.
Great to be back on. Thanks for having me.
All right, so President Obama talking earlier this morning about the deal. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I am confident that this deal will meet the national security interests of the United States and our allies. So I will veto any legislation that prevents the successful implementation of this deal.
So, Congressman, we've seen this before from this president right out of the box here. Why even have this congressional review process in the first place if this is the tone he's going to take right after striking the deal?
Well, the president might be confident, but I don't think the American people are too confident in his administration's ability to actually make a deal when it comes to protecting America's national security through our foreign policy directives. The president is using the same trick he uses for domestic issues. He threatens to veto every single bill. I hope he decides to veto congressional action on stopping this bad Iran deal, because we will, in a bipartisan way, override him.
Yeah, and there is bipartisan criticism for the deal in the first place. I mean, saying that he's going to veto this deal, again, it seems like he's poisoning the well right out of the gate.
He tries to do that often, that I don't think members of Congress of either party even pay attention to his veto threats anymore. He threatens to veto almost everything that we try to pass, and then in the end, he's only vetoed 4 bills, I believe, in his entire presidential career. This is another saber-rattling moment for the president, who has decided to distract the American people from the real issue that he and his administration, his minions, have put together a bad deal that will give Iran, in the long run, access to a nuclear weapon. And that's not just bad for America, it's bad for Israel, and it's bad for all of our allies.
We know Israel does not like this deal. We've already heard from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as well. And when you look at past negotiations underneath this administration, things like the Bo Bergdahl deal, when we got 1 traitor back for 5 hardened terrorists, that does not give the American people much optimism that any good can come out of this Iranian deal.
Now, this administration has proven time and time again, whether it's Syria, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Afghanistan, Libya, name virtually any country that we've had an issue with over the last 6 years, and they've failed miserably. And I expect this deal to be nothing more than a failure again. We cannot sign an agreement with a country who I believe has absolutely no intention of ever honoring this agreement. It reminds me of Bill Clinton's legacy moment to stop North Korea from getting a nuclear weapon, and we've all seen through history how that's worked out.
Yeah, didn't work out so well. Let's move on, Congressman, to the reason why we booked this interview in the first place, and we appreciate your comments on Iran and the nuclear deal. But let's talk about this 21st Century Act, 21st Century Cures Act. It did pass with overwhelming bipartisan support, and I know this is deeply personal for you. Tell us why.
Well, my wife, we just celebrated our 20th anniversary, but 16 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with colon cancer. And our family, like so many families in America, struggled with that diagnosis and the treatment. My wife's one of the lucky ones who responded well to the chemotherapy treatments and the surgery, and we've been blessed to continue to have clean screens after that. But many families don't have that, and we need to do what we can in America to actually reprioritize how we spend money, reform our entitlement systems, and I can't think of a better use of investing American taxpayer dollars than investing it in possible cures for some of the most dreaded diseases that afflict our society. And that's exactly what this bill does. It puts us on a path to make that happen.
And despite the fact that this bill was able to do what a lot of things in Congress are not able to do, bring Democrats and Republicans together, there are still some critics out there who say things like pharmaceutical companies will have much easier access to fast-tracking drugs without the proper testing done. What do you say to those critics?
Well, I also hear from so many different organizations who want us to fast-track new and innovative approaches to fight some of the most dreaded diseases here in America. You can't have it both ways. One thing I've learned about Washington, no matter how good the idea is, somebody's always going to find a problem with it and criticize it. In this case, I find it pretty hard to criticize a reform to our entitlement system. This is paid for, and it actually in the long run will continue to reduce our deficit spending, all the while investing more tax dollars in research. And that's what matters most, because once we can find cures to some of the most dreaded diseases like the cancer my wife fought, then we as taxpayers will save money on treating those patients who are going through them now.
That is so true, and for the average American out there, a cancer diagnosis can also sometimes mean a bankruptcy notice as well. It's just overwhelming how expensive healthcare can be. Congressman Rodney Davis, I want to thank you very much for being with us, for sharing your personal story, and also giving us some insight on the Iranian nuclear deal.
Thank you.
All right, we have more to come here on Newsmax Now. We're going to be right back with our roundtable discussion. We're going to continue to take a look at the Iranian nuclear deal and what it's going to mean for this country and elsewhere. And also we're going to take a look, we've heard a lot of discussion about Latino voters in 2016. Don't forget about those black voters, why they might be so crucial in the next election. Coming up.